Laura Vidal Borrell, and she's going to talk to us about the lesson that all prenatal classes miss. Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. What an honor to close this amazing innovation showcase. So, we're going to be talking about those things that are embarrassing and we don't talk about. Great segue, Nikki. Let me share my screen and let me know if you all guys can see it. Here. All right. Let's do these. I'm going to go on full screen. All right, can you see it?
Yes. Please go
Perfect.
ahead.
All right. So we're HappySneeze, and I am imagining all of you guys behind the screen. I wish I could see your faces and hopefully some of your babies. So before I even introduce myself or what we do, I have like a little raise the hand exercise, and we'll just imagine it since we can't interact with each other right now. So raise your hand if you have a birth plan if you're pregnant, or you had a birth plan if you've already given birth. So everything that you wanted there, interventions you wanted or you didn't want, how much you wanted to wait, breaking waters naturally, or having births induced, all of that good stuff. Eye drops, vitamin K. All right, I'm imagining hands up. Second one, what about diapering? So, how many of you guys have considered maybe getting a subscription from Amazon, have looked into cloth diapering or into eco diapering? I'm sure there's been some research done around that. Okay, moving on. What about sleep, right? Even when we're still expecting, sleep is such a big topic. So, how are we going to do this? What cribs or bassinets can we get that are going to get the kids to sleep? What about sleeping bags? What about like the snugglies? What about sleep training or no sleep training, right? Lots of reading and researching and being on communities talking about it. Big topic. So finally, how many of you guys have a plan for pelvic floor recovery or had it when you were pregnant? And I can't see you, but I bet I would see a lot less hands than I saw for the previous topics. So at this point, let me introduce myself. This is me. This is a picture from yesterday with some booby grabbing action right there. I'm 43 and my name is Laura, and these are my two kids. So Yop is 7 and Mingo is 4. And this picture is a bit of a triumph because just roughly 2 years ago, I wasn't able to do these because every time I picked up my kids, I would pee my pants to the point that I stopped picking up my kids. So maybe let me start at the beginning. And if you guys have already had children, you'll probably be will be like nodding as I tell you these. So when I had my first kid, Yop, 7 years ago, the first time I went out for a walk with him, I put him on my baby carrier, stepped on the sidewalk, and I completely peed my pants, right? Like pee going down my legs. And I was like, oh my God, I wasn't ready for that. Nobody had told me that, right? It got a little bit better, but it was a crazy time. So I didn't really take care of it. Second kid is born, same thing happens. It gets a little better. And at some point, I'm like, I just can't keep going like this. So I got help. I went to the physical therapist. I had to jump, I don't know how many hoops to get coverage for it. Then I had to drive 35 minutes with a kid in like the little bassinet in the car. The kid would like wake up. It was a nightmare. So I really didn't continue, even if my physical therapist was awesome. And then in the end, 2 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night and thought, how come are we about to send Jeff Bezos to the moon and we have still so many moms being our pants? Somebody has to do something about this, right? And I put my background in technology to work, and we created HappySneeze. So we are an app for pelvic floor recovery and incontinence care for mothers. So let me just like put things into context, right? So this is not at scale. It's very unscientific when it comes to size. But this is the head of a baby, and that penny is kind of like the size of your vagina on a normal day. So, baby versus vagina, stuff's gonna happen right there. Um, it's just not hard to imagine that after 9 months of pregnancy and carrying a growing baby plus the placenta and all the musculoskeletal changes that go with it, plus the birth, your body will need some recovery. So this is a really stark number. This is from the study for urological disease in America. This is a study from 2010 to 2016. 42% of women pee when they sneeze. And this is a very unfancy way of saying stress urinary incontinence, which is incontinence that happens when there is pressure put on the pelvic floor and is overwhelmingly due to childbirth, which is a very, very predictable event. So first of all, what is the pelvic floor? I'm not sure everybody here knows about it, so let me just do a really quick recap. The pelvic floor is the muscle system that sits at the bottom of your trunk, right? And if you want to imagine it, there's like 4 bony landmarks. One is your pubic bone at the front. The other one is a tailbone at the back. And then you have your 4 seat bones. It is like a hammock that's connected to those 4 bony landmarks, right? And it supports everything that's inside your trunk. So let's just talk like a little tiny bit about the functions of the pelvic floor, and you'll see why pregnancy and birth have such a big impact on it. So the pelvic floor, first of all, is support. Again, it's sitting at the bottom of our trunk, and it supports our pelvic and our abdominal organs. So there's like a lot of weight that it supports. The second one is stability. So every time we move or every time we step down the sidewalk or we jump, it connects with the rest of our body to keep us stable. And the third one is continence. So it's like a faucet and it opens and closes to let pee and poop out. So why is it important to be proactive after birth? You've seen it. 42% of us suffer stress urinary incontinence. The number is really, really high. And we know that being proactive brings those numbers down. In general, people that do pelvic physical therapy postpartum have 60 to 90% success rates. So being proactive really pays out. So ideally, we all want to have a physical therapist next to us, right? But not all of us can. However, if you have one of these things that I'm going to talk about right now, you should specially prioritize it. So if for 1 week you have had a 3rd or a 4th degree tear at birth, you want to have a plan for pelvic care. If you've had a 3rd or 4th degree tear and you leave it untreated, incontinence is very, very likely chronic for you. At 6 weeks, so when you go to your postpartum visit, if you experience severe incontinence to the point that it's disabling your normal life, heaviness in your vaginal area or pain, and that includes back pain, you should talk to your provider and put a plan of care in place. And then at 6 months, and we know that most of us don't go for a 6 months visit, but if you can go in for a 6 months check-in, if those symptoms still persist, you really want to have them checked, because research shows that any disorder at the 6-month mark likely becomes chronic. All right, so what are your options? Your first option is always one-on-one physical therapy. Most big cities and some smaller cities now are starting to have pelvic physical therapists. And if you can afford it, or it's near you, or your schedule allows that, this should always be your first option. They are specially trained providers that can take care of all pelvic disorders and specialize in care of expecting and moms. The second one, and this is why we created HappySneeze, is for all of us who either couldn't afford or do not have a pelvic physical therapist near us, or have a kind of schedule that doesn't really allow us to predictably go to a pelvic physical therapist, there's digital programs that you can rely on. So digital programs that contain education, exercises, and coaching to walk you from being brand new mom with everything that comes after pushing a baby through a hole that's normally the size of a penny to as recovered as you can. All right. Thanks, everybody.